Good evening, students. Welcome back for the second session of the day. So we'll continue with the topic where we left in the morning. Am I audible? Am I audible, students?
Audible.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay, ma. So in the morning we are discussed about the wireless network, ad hoc network types, then the elements of ad hoc network, and we started with the issues in the ad hoc network. So we'll continue where we left in the morning session. So this is what where we left in the morning session. We have discussed about the different types of issues that have taken place in the ad hoc networks, starting from media access scheme, routing, multicasting, transport layer protocol, pricing, quality of service, self-organization, security, energy management, addressing, service discovery, scalability, and deployment consideration. As I told that this will be asked definitely in the 14-mark question as far as unit 1 is concerned. Sometimes each and every questions may be asked in a 8-mark question. So we will be dealing each and everything. We'll be dealing each and everything in detail. First, we'll move on to the first one, that is media access scheme. So as you know that MAC is nothing but the media access control. So when we already we discussed about that ad hoc network is a distributed network in which you are going to share your resources that are available, and you will be trusting your neighbors. So based upon the neighbors, you will be you are going to forward your packets to your destination. So that is why it is called as a multi-hop network. So here you are going to have a shared channel for transmission of packet. So the performance of any wireless network hinges on the MAC protocol. So the MAC is the protocol in which you will be rely on. Okay, so normally with the help of the MAC only, you will be able to capture the channel for your transmission through the multi-hop network. Okay, now we'll be considering the issues in designing a MAC protocol. So what are the issues that governs the MAC protocol? Okay, so we'll be discussing one by one. First will be the distributed operation, synchronization. Then you have the hidden terminal and exposed terminal problem, throughput, access delay, fairness, real-time support, resource reservation, ability to measure the availability of resources, ability for the power control, then adaptive rate control, then the uses of a directional antennas. So all these things put together will be considered to be the issues for the MAC protocol. This alone can be asked in a 8-mark question. We will be discussing one by one. First one will be the distributed operation. As you know that, so when you say it is a distributed, you are going to spread out. You are going to broadcast your data towards the nearby nodes through which you will be reaching your destination. So the nearby nodes are called, it may be sometimes a destination node or it will be a intermediate node. So the network operates with no centralized coordination. So when you say it is a no centralized coordination, the other one will be the distributed form. There are two ways in which you can able to reach a destination. One by using a centralized coordination, other by using the distributed form. So normally this will happen only in the infrastructure based network, whereas in the cellular network, example. So our distributed case is only with respect to the ad hoc network. So this is the case in which all the nodes will be distributed, through which you will be sharing the resources and you will be forwarding a data to your destination. So this is said to be a distributed network. The design of MAC should involve with a minimum control overhead. So the control information should be very minimum, such that each one you are going to store the information in the routing table. Each node, when it is going to forward, it is going to take the message along with the control information. So you should have the minimum control information as long as in the ad hoc network, because the energy that is required for processing your packet will be very essential. So you should have minimum control overhead. So that is the second case. The third one, in polling based MAC protocol, the partial coordination is required. So when you go for the polling scheme, the coordination should be very minimum. That is the partial coordination is essential. So this is all about the distributed operation. The second one, synchronization, that is the receiver and the transmitting node should be in contact. That is, they should synchronize each other. So that is what the synchronization, it should be in time. The requirement should be synchronization should be in time. Synchronization is mandatory for TDMA based systems because in TDMA each user will be allotted a time slot. Only with the time slot each user will be allowed to transmit their own data. Okay, so rest of the time they will be waiting for their turn to transmit their data. So they should be synchronized. So synchronizing the time slot is very much essential. The transmission and reception of time slots. Okay, so only in the time slots will be transmitting and you will be receiving the usage. So this is very much essential because we make use of the scarce resources. We should not be able to waste the time slot. Okay, so the battery and power is considered, as I told in the morning, the energy and the bandwidth is considered to be the scarce resources. We need to synchronize. Unless if you are not synchronized, you may able to transmit a data. When the receiver is not able to receive what you are transmitting, then you go for the retransmission. Retransmission involves that you are wasting the scarce resources. So it should not happen. That's why you are going for the synchronization. The next one, the control packet used for the synchronization will increase the collision in the network. See, normally this is what I have told. So we should have the minimum amount of the control packet such that it does not involve with the collision. If you take more amount of control packet, it results in a collision. That means you are exceeding the capacity of the network. Normally in ad hoc network, when you go with any transmission, each node will be transmitting the network unless you have any CSMA CA mechanisms involved. Otherwise, it may end up with a collision. So that's why the synchronization is very much essential in a MAC protocol. The third one, the throughput. The throughput also plays a vital role along with the bandwidth. So when you say the throughput, it is nothing but the difference between the throughput and delivery ratio is only with respect to the time period it differs. Okay, so when you go for throughput, the amount of packet that is being transmitted divided by the amount of packet being received with a particular time instant. Here the time instant plays a vital role. So when you say it is a throughput at a particular time instant, how much amount of the packet being transmitted and how much amount of the packet being received, that gives the throughput. Okay, so you need to maximize the throughput. That means that whatever you transmit, you will be receiving everything. So minimizing the occurrence of the collision and maximizing the channel utilization. How much amount of the bandwidth that you are allotted, you are utilizing the maximum bandwidth and minimizing the utilization, maximizing the utilization with minimizing the collision occurrence possibility. Then your other parameter is that you are minimizing the control overhead. So with all these things to be considered, we go with the throughput. You're going to have a maximum throughput. So that is the vital parameter. Even though you have all facilities, when you have throughput is very minimum, it means that you have a less amount of packet being received at the receiving end. So next one, we have one question. Can we able to apply the media access method from a fixed network? So when you go with any fixed network, whether the media access method, normally as I told that you have a method called CSMA, that is carrier sense multiple access with a collision detection mechanism. So is it possible to apply this method from the fixed network? Okay, so that is the question. So normally when you go for this one, we will be applying the CSMA CA. CA will avoid the collision. The CD will go only for the detection. Okay, so you are going to send the data as soon as the medium is free. Medium in the sense when you are in a coverage range of your neighbor. If a neighbor is not in receiving mode, normally you will go for the transmission so that they can able to receive the data. So that is the concept of the CSMA mechanism. As soon as the medium is free or idle, okay, you are going to listen the medium. If a collision occurs, then you are going for the back off. Okay, so that is the concept of the CSMA. Sense the medium. If it is free, you transmit. Else, you just back off. Again, you sense the medium. Then, if it is free, you transmit. Otherwise, again you back off. So this is said to be a binary backup algorithm. That will be you keep on increasing your backup time as long as the medium is busy. Okay, so this is the case. The station, you have two stations A and B. When both involved, if B is receiving some data, not from A, but from some other station. If A starts transmitting the data, it may end up with a collusion. Or if B is sending some data, if A is not aware of B's transmission, then it may end up with a collusion. It should not happen. That's why you go for the collusion detection and the collusion avoidance mechanism. So what is the problem that normally prevails in a wireless network? The signal strength decreases to the square of the distance. As you move far away from the neighboring node, normally the strength automatically decreases. Okay, that is what happens here. The signal strength decreases proportional to the square of the distance. When you move away, far away, the distance automatically increases with respect to the signal strength. That is, increasing distance will be in terms of square. Okay, the sender would apply CS and CD, collusion carrier sense and collusion detection mechanism. Okay, so this is the mechanism that normally applied, but the collusion happens at the receiver. So even though you detect the collusion, you can able to detect, but you cannot able to avoid. So if that is the case, it may happen at the receiver end. Okay, so it might be it might be the same case that sender cannot hear the collusion. So you can able to detect, but if you are not able to control the collusion, it may happen at the receiver end. It is similar to the case in which the sender is not aware of the receiver. So if he is keep on sending, it may end up with a collusion. Okay, so this collusion detection does not work in a fixed network or when you go with this multimedia case. That is the media access case. Okay, so furthermore, the CS collusion sense might work if you go with a terminal is hidden. Okay, it might not work. What is the case? If there is no any hidden nodes, then you can able to use this as carrier sense and collusion detection mechanism. If there is any hidden node, then you may not able to use this carrier sense mechanism. So when you say a hidden node, that's the next slide you have the problem. That's a collusion detection mechanism. So now we can, from this slide, we can able to see that for a media access mechanism, for the fixed network, we cannot employ the collusion detection mechanism, because if there is any hidden node available, then there is a possibility that the collusion might happen. Okay, so this is the takeaway from this slide. The next parameter is the hidden and exposed terminals. So you can see in the figure there are three nodes available, A, B and C. From this figure you can see the circle resembles the coverage area of each node. So you have the coverage area for this one, second node, on this one for the third node. From the first coverage area of A, you can able to see that B is covered. With the B's coverage area, you can able to see that C is in the coverage area. Okay, now you see the statement here. A sends to B. Now A wishes to transmit a packet to B, but C is not in the coverage range of A, so C cannot able to receive A. Okay, similarly, A does not know whether the C is available in the network, but A can know that only B is within the coverage range. Okay, now if C wants to send it to B, now C sends to data to B. C senses the medium to be free. Okay, so now C senses that the medium is free, but in this case the collusion, or you can say the carrier sensing, is failed because A is already involved in the transmission with respect to B. Okay, so because A is not involved in the transmission range of C, whatever A transmit, that may not be available to C. Hence, the carrier sensing is failed with respect to C. So this is said to be a hidden terminal. Okay, so this is the node in which you are going to transmit, and this is the node he also wants to transmit to B. He may not aware that A is transmitting, so it may end up with a collusion. So this is said to be a hidden terminal. Students, can you able to follow? Students, can you able to follow what I am saying, the hidden terminal problem? So it is very much essential as far as ad hoc network is concerned. Can you able to follow? What is a hidden terminal? Okay, so within the coverage range of A, only B is available, C is not available. So you can see that C is hidden to A. Similarly, the C is in the coverage range of B, whereas A is not in the coverage range of C. So A is hidden to C. So when A transmit to B, simultaneously there is a possibility that C transmit. So at this end, there is a possibility that collision may happen. So this is said to be a hidden terminal problem. The next one, exposed terminal problem. B sends to A. Now B wants to transmit the data to B wants to transmit the data to A. C wants to send the data to some other terminal, not for the A. So B wants to send to A, and C wants to transmit the data to some other terminal. C has to wait carrier sends signal as the medium is in use. Okay. So since this is in a coverage range of B, when B is involved in any transmission, there is a possibility that the C is exposed to B, and it may sense that the carrier seems to be involved with some transmission. So in this case, there is this is said to be the exposed terminal. Okay, C has to wait since the carrier sends signal as the medium is in use. Okay, but A is out of range of C. Even though A is out of range of C, C has to wait because even though the C is not sending the data to B, it is sending to data to some other terminal. Because of A transmission or B involved in transmission of A, okay, it is need to wait. Okay, so that is why it is said to be exposed terminal. Once again, I will repeat. C wants to transmit data to some other terminal, not to the B, but B wants to transmit the data to A. B's coverage range involved with is C. So whenever C is sensing the carrier, it assumes that since B is transmitting to A, C assumes that the carrier is in use. Okay, even though C wants to transmit data to some other terminal, not to B, it will be in a waiting mode until B completes its transmission. So this is said to be exposed problem, or you can say exposed terminal. Here C is exposed to B. Okay, so this is said to be the exposed terminal. Students, now you able to clear? Are you clear with the exposed terminal problem? Am I clear, students? Students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So these two problems plays a vital role when you are involved with any wireless network, that too in ad hoc network, when you have a node to be a hidden node. The hidden node means it doesn't hide in between, but it is not in the coverage range of a that is origin node, but it will be in the coverage range of an intermediate node. So that is said to be a hidden node. So this problem is a vital, and this will be asked regularly or repeatedly in a 2-mark questions. The next one will be the access delay. So as you know that when you go for the capturing of channel, that is said to be access, yeah, the amount of delay that incurred or that is involved in capturing that channel is said to be the access delay. Or you can say the average delay that any packet experiences to get transmitted. So if you are going to transmit a packet, the amount of the delay that is involved when you put the packet into the network. Okay, the MAC protocol should attempt to minimize this delay. So the delay should be minimum. Since we are operating with a battery devices, the delay should be minimum. Wherever you encounter any delay, that delay should be always minimum. The next one, fairness. Fairness is nothing but it is a concept in which you are going to share the available resources in a equal manner to the nodes available in the network. That is said to be the fairness. Okay, if there are 5 nodes sharing the total 10 kbps resources, normally 2 kbps will be available for 5. If there are the if you have only 2 or 3 nodes available, the rest of the nodes left the network, then you need to share those available resources to among the 3 nodes. That is said to be the fairness. So it is the ability of the MAC protocol to providing equal share or weight of the share of the available bandwidth. Whatever the bandwidth that is available, it has to share the available bandwidth with the nodes in the network. The fairness is either a node based or the flow based. So when you go with any flow of data with a particular link, the resources which is available for a particular or dedicated that has to be available or based upon the number of nodes in that particular path. So either of the mechanism can be used for the fairness. Fairness is an important parameter such that no one should get penalized. One is getting the high resources, another one should not get the low resources. The fairness should be in a equal way. It should be of given equal priority. So the fairness is important because due to multi-hop relaying by the nodes. So nodes involves in multi-hop. If there is any partiality between the nodes, then your data will get lost in the midway. So unfair relaying node. So if you have an unfair relay, see normally relaying node is nothing but packet transferring through intermediate nodes. It is like a relay race. So what will happen in relay race? One will take the stick and they will be keep running the entire ground and will give to another person. Then they will give to another person. So that is said to be relaying. The same concept is here. First, the source node will take the packet and will move to the next node. It may be a destination node. It may be a intermediate node. The intermediate node again forward to the neighboring node until it becomes a destination node. So this is said to be a relaying. So when you have unfair relaying, okay, that is the fairness is unfair, then it results in a draining of resources. So whenever you say anything about resources in ad hoc network, it points to parameter. One is the bandwidth and the other one is the energy. So these two are the vital parameters when you consider to be the resources in ad hoc network. So you should have a fairness should be a fair manner. It should be in a fair manner. The next one will be the real-time traffic support. So you have two type of traffic. One is the time sensitive, other one is the time insensitive. For time sensitive traffic, you should have some vital importance. You should give some vital importance. So the time sensitive traffic such as voice, video and real-time data. So those things should give high importance and it should be explicitly support the, it should have explicit support from the MAC. So MAC should support them and the support should be vital for them because if you have any mismatch, then whatever the data that you are receiving may end up with reduction in the packet. Then contention based channel assessment based upon the environment. So contention is nothing but the phenomena or the mechanism in which more number of nodes tries to capture the channel. So that is said to be the contention. Normally you will be having the competition. So that is said to be the contention. So you will be having the contention based channel for the real-time traffic support or traffic environment. So in that case, the MAC support is very much essential for the voice, video and real-time data. So they are very much essential. So the quality of service will come into picture when you go with these parameters. The next one, use of directional antenna. As you know that there are two types of antenna. One is the omnidirectional, other one is the directional antennas. We'll go with this one. So directional antenna. So at a particular direction, you will be able to receive the signal. Okay. So with the increase in the spectrum, reuse, reduction in the interference, then reduced power consumption. Why we go for directional antenna? Because of these three. We make use of the reuse concept. Then interference will be reduced. Then you will have a reduction in the power consumption. So for this purpose, we should go with this directional antenna. Most of the MAC protocol will use the omnidirectional antenna. Here we make use of the directional antenna for these three reasons. Okay. Then resource reservation. As I told that you have a vital two resources. So you want to make it utilization should be very effective. So then only you can able to achieve the desired quality of service. Okay. So the resource reservation will have an impact with the QoS. Okay. So the QoS defined parameter will be bandwidth, delay, and a jitter. Jitter is nothing but the variability in delay is called jitter. How much amount of the delay is that is varying. Okay. For example, for sender to receiver, if you take 10 milliseconds, the 10 millisecond will not be remain same for each and every nodes. Okay, it may vary. Okay, for one node it may have 1 millisecond. Some nodes have 3 millisecond. So totally you have 10 millisecond. The amount that varies with respect to the traffic. So that is said to be the jitter. So it requires the reservation of resources such as bandwidth and a buffer space. Each, as you know that each node will act as a router. Each node will have a memory. So you should reserve some space in the memory as well as for the bandwidth. So you need to reserve the bandwidth in order to transmit your data. Okay, so reservation plays a vital here. And the last one is the processing power. So the power also plays a vital here. The resource reservation is very difficult task in the case of the ad hoc network. So the MAC protocol should provide a reservation and a quality of service provisioning. So even though it is difficult, you should employ a suitable routing protocol or a protocol that able to provide some reservations. Okay, the MAC should provide an estimation of resource availability at every node. Students, are you following? Am I clear with the topics what I am discussing now? Are you following, students? Sriranjani?
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay, am I clear?
Clear, sir.
Clarity means in the concept wise I am telling.
Yes, sir.
Am I going fast?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The next parameter is the capability for the power control. So whether the routing protocol or whether the MAC protocol that we are employing should have the capability to control the power. So that is what the case here. The transmission power control, when you go with the power control mechanism, it reduces the energy at the nodes. So the wastage of energy will be reduced when you go with any power control mechanism. So you can able to protect or conserve the scarce resources. So it can able to decrease the interference between the nodes and increasing their frequency reuse. Are you aware of frequency reuse concept? Probably you will be studying in communication network. Sorry, you might have studied in a communication theory or in a, what is the other paper? Communication. What is the other paper? Mobile communication, 11 to mobile communication. Whether you have studied any paper last semester or currently you are studying? Students, any paper relevant to your communication? Students, what are the papers that you studied in the last semester and current semester what you are studying? Any relevancy with respect to communication?
Communication network, sir.
Okay, network is that is different. Apart from that, communication networks, are you studying any frequency reuse concept over there? Probably in a mobile communication or mobile relevant communication relevant papers you will be studying. Okay, I will tell that concept. The frequency reuse concept is nothing but you are going to use the same. For example, you will be available in a particular cell. You know that the cell size is exactly in say a particular frequency will be allotted. The same frequency you will be using at some distance apart. That concept is called frequency reuse, such that the same frequency will be used by the multiple users. This is the way in which you can able to increase the number of users in any network. For if you take any cellular network, if I want to use you just assuming that you have only 100 users. Now there is a demand to use 500 users. So what is the possibility that you make use of a frequency reuse concept? What is the frequency reuse concept? Whatever the frequency that have been allotted earlier, the same frequency will be used by the some other users, but with there should be some distance separated such that you don't have any interference. Such concept is called frequency reuse. So this frequency reuse concept will be you should that is you can able to increase the frequency reuse concept when you have the power control capability. Okay, then the next one is the adaptive rate control. The variation in the bit rate achieved over a channel, that is called as the rate control. That is how much amount of how much fast you can able to transmit your data. Okay, so that is also possible. So the MAC protocol has an adaptive rate control mechanism. Okay, you can use a high data rate when the sender and receivers are nearby, and reducing the data rate when they are move away. So when you have a close proximity between the sender and the receiver, you may transmit at a high data rate. For example, if there are 4 nodes in the network, your next neighbor node is a destination, you will go with a high data transmission. If the 5th node is on the receiver, then you have 3-4 intermediate nodes. So in that case, you will go for the low data rate. So this is the adaptive changes with respect to the environmental condition. Okay, so that is said to be the rate control. So whatever the MAC protocol that we make use of or the design that you have involved, you should have all those parameters are consideration. The next one is the routing. So far we have discussed you just listen here. So far, we discussed the parameters that are available or the considerations with respect to the MAC alone. Now we completed the MAC. Now we move on to the second case. Okay, you just understand what we are discussing and how we are discussing. So this is the overall metric as issues. In that we completed the MAC. The MAC alone we have the several parameters. We completed all these parameters in MAC. Now we are moving to the routing. So now we will have several parameters with respect to routing. We will be discussing one by one. So now we move on to the routing. So why should we go for routing, or what do you mean by routing? Students, I need your answers. What is routing?
Finding the shortest path.
Okay, for what? For what you need to find the shortest path?
To deliver the message.
To deliver the message. Exactly, very good. So normally the shortest, how do you identify the path is should be shortest path? How will you know the path is the shortest path? On what metrics you will decide the path is the shortest path? How do you identify it?
Protocols.
Using?
Protocols.
Okay, so you have a default protocol that you identify. Apart from protocols, there should be some metrics should be available. So if you say the shortest path, the number of hubs, or you can say the number of links should be very minimum, or the weight that is assigned to each link should have a minimum value. So either one of the case should comes. Okay, then you go for the shortest path. Normally, a routing protocol will determine these two parameters. One is that number of links that is available between the source and destination should be minimum. The second case are the weight value. For example, if you take the weight value between these two is set to be 1 and these two set to be 2, and there are some other node available. If you go through this node, when you have the weight value as 2, you should not choose this value. You should go with this value. Okay, that is set to be the weight value. Based upon the weight value, you are going to determine the shortest path. Okay. So this is how you identify the routing path to the destination without any routing protocol. Normally, the routing protocol will determine that one. Based upon the routing protocol, we will be delivering the packet through the intermediate node to the destination. Okay. Now we will discuss about the responsibilities of the routing protocol, exchanging the route information. Okay, so normally for what purpose you are going for routing protocol, the route information has to be exchanged. Second one, finding the feasible path to a destination based upon the hop length, power and the lifetime. You may have a path that is available, but it can be able to consume more amount of power because it involves with a large number of nodes. So you should not select that one. Then you need to select the nodes based upon the lifetime. So you have to identify which node has the longest, or you can say largest lifetime. So lifetime is nothing but as long as you have the battery power, that link has a highest, or you can say largest lifetime. Okay, then the hop length, the length is nothing but the distance between the two nodes. Okay, so based upon the hop length, you will be selecting the feasible path to the destination. Third parameter, gathering the information about the path break. Okay, so you should identify then and there each node when they communicate with the neighboring nodes by using the beacon messages, they'll come to know if they receive any acknowledgement, they'll come to know your neighbor is alive. Otherwise, they are assuming that there is some break available between you and your neighbor. So you should not forward the packet to your neighbor. So that is how the nodes will identify the neighbor about the path failure or the link failure. So you need to gather, each node has to identify or gather the information about the link failure. Okay, that has to be updated in the routing table. So then the mending broken paths, mending the broken path, expanding the minimum processing power and the bandwidth. You need to repair those broken paths. Now, that means repair means you are not going to establish the connection over there. You are going to identify an alternate path to reach your destination. So that is said to be the broken path. and the time that has taken to that is re-establishing the connection should be very minimum. So in such a way, you have to identify your shortest path or the shortcut path to reach the destination. You need to find the alternate route, and also you should have consume the minimum bandwidth. Okay, so those things has to be identified. Finally, that's what I told. You should have the minimum bandwidth. You need to utilize the minimum bandwidth. So these are the parameters that has to be taken care, or you can say if you select any routing protocol, the protocol should possess all those parameters. Okay, so this is how you establish a communication from your one home to the other home with the help of the router. The router will identify the correct path to the destination from the source node based upon the availability of the intermediate nodes. Okay, so this is the concept of routing. It may also ask in 2 mark question, what is routing? What is the requirements or responsibilities of a routing protocol? Or if you are choosing any routing protocol, what are the responsibilities or the function that it should possess? Then now we'll discuss about the challenges of a routing protocol. First, we discuss about the MAC. In that MAC, you have several challenges. Likewise, here, now we come to the second point, that is the routing. In the routing also, we have several challenges available. We will be discussing one by one. First one is the mobility. So what is called mobility? Saravanan, what is mobility? What is mobility? Saravanan, are you there? Saravanan, are you there? What is mobility, Saravanan? Rohit? Rohit, are you there? Rohit, Sabari, Sandhya, I need some answers. Anyone can answer. So this is an open platform. Anyone can answer. If
Movement, sir.
yes, as you know that the nodes are not stationary; they will be keep on moving. So what are the problem that are associated when you are moving? Then how to provide or establish a route to the neighboring nodes or to the destination? That is a vital here. So that is the first parameter. That is the mobility. The second one, as you know that the bandwidth constraint comes into all cases. Bandwidth constraint. Third one, error prone and shared channel. As you know that we are going to share the resources, the channel tends to have more errors. The next one, location dependent contention. So when you are nearer, you have more number of nodes. The contention with that particular nodes may have high tendency to involved with a collusion. So based on that, you may have some variation. That is the location dependent contention. Minimum route acquisition delay.
போட்டு கலக்கணும்னா உப்பு ஒரே இடத்துல போட்ட
Saravanan, mute your mic. Saravanan. Saravanan, yes, thank you. Minimum route acquisition. Okay, you can mute your mic, Saravanan. Some disturbance at back end. Okay, thank you. Minimum route acquisition delay, then quick route reconfiguration. So if there is a link failure occurs, then you need to reconfigure the route very quickly. That is very much essential. Then loop free routing. So this is a vital parameter in the case of a routing protocol. You should not involved in any loop. So when you are involved in any loop, then your packet may not be able to reach your neighboring node. It will be keep on rotating with the same case. That is said to be a loop free routing. Then distributed routing. As you know that when you go with the broadcasting, automatically it involves in a distributed environment or distribution of node. Then you have scalability, provision of quality of service, support for a time sensitive traffic. So these three plays a vital role. Finally, you have the security and privacy. So these also plays a vital role in the case of the routing protocol. So we will be discussing one by one. First, that is the mobility. So as you pointed out, the mobility involves that it may result in a path break, pollution, and so it is a vital parameter. When the nodes are keep on moving, you need to regularly update or identify your neighboring nodes. You need to update your routing information. When one nodes join or some nodes leave the network, you need to update. If you fail to update, there is a possibility that whatever you transmit, that may end up with a loss of packets. Okay, so that is a vital information. Whenever you are moving, you may come out of your network. That is, there is a partition in the network may happen. You may come out of a network where the other nodes, you may be moving in other side, the nodes may be moving in other side. Okay, so there is a possibility. In that case, there is a partition of network normally happens. The good good routing protocol should be able to be effectively, or you can say efficiently, solve the above issues. Whatever may be the problem, if a protocol counters all those problems, then those protocols are called as a good routing protocol. We need to have those good routing protocol for the ad hoc networks. Okay, you just look at this picture. You have the initial setup here where you have the nodes in with one direction. Here these three are in a coverage range, but D is somewhat farther when compared to these three. As long as the time progresses or the node moves, normally the environment changes. Okay, so now B comes out of the range of A, whereas here the A is in the proximity of B. Okay, so this is how a node may leave the network or the node may join the network. Now B joined with the C with the coverage range, whereas in this case the node moves out of A. Okay, so this is how the route changes. So based upon the mobility, you need to frequently update the routing table. So in that case, there is a link failure between A and B. So if there is a link failure happens, you need to reconfigure the link, or you need to find the alternate path to identify the link failure to reach your neighbor. Okay, the next case, you may need to traverse multiple links to reach a destination. Here also, you can see you may have the same scenario. So here you are changed one path. Here also there is a possibility that you need to have multiple nodes to reach your destination. If there is a break available, it has to go with A, B, B, C, then C to D. So this is the multipath to reach the destination if any of the path. For example, if B blocks out, then you should go with AC, then CD. Or if B blocks, if C blocks out, or if this one blocks out, you may have to find the alternate path. So this is a vital issue that need to address it by any routing protocol. The next one, bandwidth constraint. As you know that it is one of the vital parameter, and it is a scarce resources. Okay, so bandwidth available for wireless link. So each link will consume some amount of bandwidth, and depending upon the number of nodes and the traffic they handle. So how much amount of the packet that is being transmitted in the particular link, then number of nodes available in the network. So those plays the vital role with respect to the bandwidth. Only a fraction of total bandwidth will be available for every node. So this is a vital parameter because we are using sharing concept. So when you go for sharing, you may not be able to give the total bandwidth. So there may be n number of paths available. Each path should have a bandwidth such that if in the case of any link failure, the alternate path will comes into picture. So that's why you have only a fraction of total bandwidth available for every node. So you need to look out this parameter very carefully. The next one, error prone and shared channel. See, normally the bit error rates will be a major constraint in the shared channel. That is in a wireless channel that will be very high as 10 power minus 5 to 10 power minus 3. So the ad hoc network should take this into account. So when you say that if you are transmitting 10 packets, or you can say 10 bits, among the 10 bits, if you have 3 bit or 5 bit as the error, almost 50% or 30% of the packet is lost. So if you are that too, when you are assuming that we are providing the quality of service or demand based service, that is a video or a audio information. If you transmit a packet of 10 bits in size. If you lost 3 bits or 5 bits, almost you lost your entire information. So that should not happen. Okay, so you should take care of this one. And that means you should select a suitable routing protocol that have very minimum error. The state of the wireless link, signal to noise ratio, and a path loss. So this also plays a vital role in improving the efficiency of the routing protocol. So what is the state of the wireless link? Whether the link is having a full strength and signal to noise ratio is very minimum, that is having a high signal and less noise, and there is a very minimum path loss, or there is no path loss. So those things has to be considered when you go for the selection of any routing protocol. The next one, location dependent contention. So this is how you go with the location dependent. A load on a wireless channel varies with the number of nodes in a geographical area. At this point, you may have minimum nodes. At this point, you may have a cluster of nodes. So at that point, you have the traffic in the network. So in this point, you may have a minimum traffic in the network. Okay, so that is said to be a location dependent contention. So the load on the wireless channels varies with the nodes in the geographical area. This is said to be the geographical area. At one point you may have minimum, at one point you may have maximum load. So the contention for a channel is high as the node increases. When you have more number of nodes, automatically the contention, the more number of users will start transmitting the packet, you have more contention. High contention for the channel will have the high collision. When there are more users involved with the data transmission, then there is a possibility that you may have more collision. When you have more collision, it automatically reflects the bandwidth. Again, you go for the retransmission. So the same packet will use twice the bandwidth for the destination to it reaching. Okay, so the built-in mechanism for distributing the network load should be uniformly across the network. So you should have some mechanism for distributing the network load uniformly throughout the network. So based upon that, you need to select a routing protocol. The next one, minimum route acquisition delay. So how much amount of, this is what I have told you about the weight. You have 4, you have 2, you have 5, you have 3. You may choose any number of nodes. For example, so this is one way to reach the destination. This is the another path to reach the destination, and this is the another path to reach the destination. Okay, so there are 3 ways in which you can able to reach the destination. Among the 3 paths, which path has the minimum weight value, you need to identify. So that path will be considered to be the best path for the routing protocol to transmit the data packets. Okay, so a route should have a minimum delay. So a delay for the node that does not have the route to a particular destination. Okay, so if you don't have any route to the particular destination or the intermediate node, you should not take that particular route. The delay should be minimal as possible. Delay may vary with the network size and the load. Okay, so when you have a network of involved with 100 nodes, then you may have more delay, and we have a more amount of users, that is a load in the sense users. Okay, there you have a maximum delay. When you have involved with 5 nodes, then the delay will be very minimum. So that you have to take into consideration. The next one, quick route reconfiguration. So you take this figure. So this is the path that exists between B and D. If there is a delay involved, or you can say there is a path break, then you need to find an alternate route such that the B has to discover the neighboring node C. So it takes the alternate path to reach the destination. That is why quick reconfiguration is very much essential. Okay, so unpredictable changes in the topology of the network. So that is one parameter, or path break. So that is the other parameter. So unpredictable, due to mobility, you may go out of the network. So during that time also, you need to take care. At the same time, when you faces a link failure between the 2 nodes, During that time also, you need to take care to find the alternate path. So that is said to be a quick route reconfiguration. You should select a routing protocol that should have this feature. The next one will be the loop-free routing, the fundamental requirement of any routing protocol. So it is very much essential. You should avoid unnecessary wastage of the bandwidth. It should not, loop means it will be continuing, that is a closed path. Okay, so you should not always take the closed path. If you are in a closed path, you will be rotating in a particular area or environment. The packet does not broadcast to the destination through the other nodes. Okay, you have to ensure that you are not involved in any route. Okay, that is a loop. Okay, so due to random movement of the nodes, the transient loop may form in a route. There is a possibility that you may have a transient loop because of the mobility. There is a possibility of a transient loop. You should avoid by using a proper routing protocol. Detecting such a transient loops and take the corrective action is also vital parameter. So those things should happen due to the mobility. You have to ensure those things very carefully. The next one is the distributed routing. As you know, we already discussed about the distributed routing. It should be a fully distributed. All the nodes in the network should reach the destination. So that is very much essential. Then the use of centralized routing in any network may consume large bandwidth. Okay, so when you go for any centralized routing, wherever you are, you need to process your data to the central point. From the central point, it has to take to the destination node. So it may consume large bandwidth. That's why you are going for distributed. So when you have central point, if you have more number of nodes, all has to communicate to the central point. From central point, you need to communicate. But when you have distributed routing, you can communicate directly so that the usage of the scarce resources is very much reduced. Next one, scalability, provisioning of quality of service and the time-sensitive traffic. So this is very much vital here. The ability of the routing protocol to scale well with a large number of nodes. When I am going to add more number of nodes in the network, I should have the provision that it is possible with that particular routing protocol. We should not say that our routing protocol does not support with only minimum nodes. You should select a routing protocol based upon the environment such that it can able to scale well, and it has the possibility of provisioning the quality of service. Okay, so when you say the quality of service, high throughput, minimum delay, and a maximum utility. Okay, so that is said to be the quality of service parameters. Normally, it involves with the bandwidth, delay, jitter, packet delivery ratio, throughput. So these are the parameters normally involved with the quality of service. Okay. Then it has to support for the time-sensitive traffic. So for example, you can take that time-sensitive traffic is nothing but when you go for online reservation, it is very much a time-sensitive. You cannot be able to waste a fraction of seconds. It may end up with a loss of seat in the reservation. Okay, so you have to take care with when you are going for time-sensitive traffic. Finally, you have security and privacy. You have to resilient to the threats and vulnerabilities. Whatever the threats, you need to overcome those things very, very easily, and we have to counter that one very quickly. So that is very much essential. What are the loopholes available? Those things has to be recovered very quickly. Okay, so that is a vital parameter, and you should have some inbuilt capability to avoid the resource consumption, denial of service, then impersonation. So these are the various types of attacks that normally happen in any wireless network. We will be discussing those attacks later on. So when some attacks or vulnerabilities comes into picture, the choosing routing protocol should be able to overcome that one. You have to counter-attack those things. So with all these things into consideration, we need to select the routing protocol. So the second parameter in the issues of the ad hoc network completed. So now we'll move on to the third parameter. We just check now. So first one is the medium access over. Second one is the routing over. Now we comes to the third one, that is called multicasting. So what is called multicasting? In the morning I have told you about the multicasting. What is multicasting? What is multicasting? Students? So you have the answer in the slides.
Message to a particular group of
Exactly. So you are going to send the message or the information only to the particular group of nodes that is available. You may have any number of nodes. Among those, you are going to pinpoint certain things. Okay, here you can see those green color nodes are said to be the multicast nodes among the other nodes. Okay, so a source node will transmit information only to those nodes. That is called a multicasting. Okay, so a multicast group is defined with a unique group identifier. So these groups, the nodes that are green in color will form a multicast group. So in order to identify the group, you will be having an identifier. That identifier is called a group identifier for the multicast group. Each group will have a unique identifier. They will be different in among the broadcast nature. Okay. The nodes may join or leave the multicast group at any time. So within this group, this node may leave, or some node may join. Any node may join or leave the multicast group. So the physical topology can change very often. Whenever the node changes, automatically, whenever node leaves or node join, automatically the topology also changes. Okay. There is no need to take the topology into account while designing the multicast, because as you know that in ad hoc network, it doesn't remain same. It will be keep on changing. That too, when you go for the multicasting, you need not to consider this topology as one of the parameter. It also plays a vital role in an emergency rescue and a search operation, and especially in a military operation, this multicasting plays a vital role. So here the nodes forms the group to carry out certain tasks. So these groups will form together and they will be executing a certain task assigned by the source node. Here the power constraint also plays a vital role along with the bandwidth, and it is very much essential, or you can say it is also a challenging when compared with the other cases. Okay, so with this we'll stop. The rest of the topics we will be discussing in the next class. Okay. Here also we have certain issues. That is why I have told you that this is a 16-mark question. The topic may be of a single line, but it values more. You need to concentrate these things. So this is what we are discussing. We are under medium access. We completed medium access scheme, routing. Now we are in multicasting. Like this, we have the several other parameters. Once you complete this one, almost we are 70% of the unit 1 will be over. Okay. So do you have any doubt? At the end of this completion of these issues, we have an activity. Once you complete, we will have that activity. Already we have completed one activity with respect to the topics we have discussed earlier. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Students, if you have any doubt, you can ask me now. Are you clear with the topic?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you don't have any doubt, we'll wind up the session. Okay, so thank you for your patient listening, students. We'll meet in the next class. Okay, thank you, students.